Hi, this is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I want to thank you for joining me today. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here today to show you how to make some really cute cards based on kind of a Sesame Street theme. We're working on these really cute cards. We're going to try to see if we can get through all three of them. I've got a lot of parts cut out, but there's some pieces I really want to show you that will make this whole process a whole lot easier. If you ever need any of the supplies that are used in anything that we make, I do appreciate it when you purchase from my store. That is what I'm in business to do, is to help you have a stress-free crafting experience. We're down on my desk, and these are the three cards we're going to be making. We're going to make a Cookie Monster, Groucho, and Elmo. And this was at a request. Someone who watches me every Monday had said that they wanted to see me do the Elmo card. I do appreciate it when you guys give me ideas. It helps me to know, what to work on, what you guys want to learn how to make. Also, to make this, we're going to use the new Stampin' Cut machine. Let's start out with Cookie Monster. That's the first one I did. And actually we can kind of do this batch theory, because one of the things we're going to need to do is we're going to need to cut out the circle that's going to give us our flip, and we're going to need to emboss him so that he looks like he's got fur. So all three of them need that. Oh, let's do the scoring. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Trimmer. And of course we start out with a regular 5.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock. We're going to score that at 4 1/4. But then we're also going to score it again at 2 1/8, which is right down the middle of the front of the card. So let's do that with all three. The next thing we want to do is we want to burnish these on the score lines. So we're going to bring this in, make sure that we are definitely in half. I'm lining up these two edges, then pushing back into the fold. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the hole for his eye. We're half of a hole actually. And I want to do that before embossing, because I don't want it, when we run it through for the die cutting, I don't want it to flatten out any of the fur that we're creating. So we're going to cut first, and this is the part I want you to pay attention to. We're going to make up the sandwich just like it says on the cut and emboss machine. We're going to do 1, 2, and 3. All the plates are numbered. This is over here because I've been flipping them. We still want to do that as we're using them. Each time you run it through, try to flip it. And then I'm going to set this a little bit high, but right over the middle. And then I'm going to take my other cutting plate, and I'm going to only have it cover half of the die, because it's only going to cut the part that I have the plate over, and that's what we want. That's what's going to give it the little pivot thing on the front with his front eye. So I'm just going to run it through like that. And the cut we're making is towards the inside of the card, because that's what's going to flip it out. You got me? And you can do this with any shape. I have made quite a few cards where we've done this with all sorts of shapes. I've done it with circles, I've done it with labels, I've done it with stars, I've done it with all kinds of stuff. You would just lay down your designer series paper first, and then you would line all this up and die cut it out, and you could have any kind of shape flip on the front. It's really fun. While I had the dies out before, I went ahead and I took the same one that we had done this part with, and I cut out black, because that's going to be the eyeball on this side, and I wanted exactly the same size as the half of a circle that we cut, and then it's going to cover up the one on the inside, and then I went one smaller and made a second eye. So it gives it a little bit of dimension. And then I took this same one that this was, that die, and I cut out some white ones to be the center of those. And then went smaller to do the center of this. Used a great big one to make his mouth. Tiny ones on the inside are a 1 inch and a 3/4 inch punch. Oh, we didn't make our fur. Well, I got ahead of myself. That was all the like pieces I needed for the actual Cookie Monster. And then we'll do some cookies. But like I said, I forgot to do the fur part. And what I did for the fur is I used the embossing folder of the Old World paper and did kind of a similar thing. I'm going to only feed the paper in so far. Now this is a 3D embossing folder. So what I'm going to need is plate 1 and plate 4. And then I'm going to load this in here up to our score line. And then we're going to do the opposite one the same way, just up to the score line. Okay, so let's start putting our eyeballs together. And that's an easy layering. And you could use any adhesive you wanted to use. I just happened to reach over and grab the liquid glue. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of try to place it about where the other one is, to make sure that when the card is closed, it's going to cover it up. And then we're going to put his mouth on. So we really wouldn't be Cookie Monster without some cookies, right? And I'm going to round off the corners because I feel that the embossing folder made the corners a little weaker than they normally are, and I don't want them to scrunch up over here. Okay, for the cookies, I used our Nothing's Better Than bundle. So I came in here and got the cookie out of this one. And so we're just going to go ahead and stamp that on some scraps of Whisper White paper. My husband was playing around with the laser engraving machine, and he can now custom make blocks. So we're working with a few demonstrators that wanted some for Christmas presents. Okay, so for the cookies, I'm going to use Early Espresso and the new cinnamon cider for the inside. I figure the espresso kind of looks like the chocolate chips. And then the other part would look like the dough. And you can do this either way, either doing the detail first and then the inside, or the inside and then the detail over. It doesn't really matter, but this is what we call two-step stamping because there's 2 steps to it. And it's always best to kind of lean over and look straight down through the top. So I apologize if my head gets in the way or the cookies come out of screen. That's just me trying to line it up correctly. I'm going to just move over here. I'm scrubbing on my Stampin' Scrub. I've got one side wet and one side dry, so I'm just giving those a quick rub so that they don't stain too bad. And then we can bring in our dies. I'm going to use this one here. Of course, he'd have to have cookies by his mouth, right? And they always tell us to do things in odd numbers, and so I'm going to do 5. Put one more inside. And there you go. Now you can also, what I did for the other one, I needed a sentiment, and so I cut out a crumb cake circle and stamped it right here. And it also kind of finished it off. So if you want to go ahead and add a sentiment here, and then you can sign your name here, and there's your card. There's Cookie Monster. Now the other ones are going to go together very similar. We'll do Elmo, We'll do the same thing. We'll grab his eyeballs. Okay, so remember there's one for the outside, two for the inside. And then Elmo has a kind of a longer nose, and so I used our layering ovals to do that one. Okay, so I just cut off the top. Since I'm going to bury his nose under his eyes, and I've already glued one down, I'm going to go ahead and do that so that it still fits. So there's Elmo. Our last one here is Oscar the Grouch. Oscar's also got a little bit of red in his mouth. So I cut out some of that. And now we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to layer up and assemble. If anybody's looking for Christmas presents, my husband would love to hook you up with some laser engraved stuff. He's been making tumblers lately. Some people asked for specific designs for specific people, and they're stockpiling them for Christmas presents. I thought that was really smart to get started early. Yes, same embossing folder for the eyebrows. I suppose you could use any one. I just grabbed the old world paper because that to me looked the most like fur. Okay, last thing is the eyebrows. Now we can either leave them straight or we can round them off. I can't decide which one is better. I do know they have to go kind of at an angle because he's usually pretty grumpy. So maybe they could be a little shorter. And then the girl that I cased this from, I don't think she's a demo anymore because her blog is no longer active, but she made these back in 2014 when we had the flip die that would do this for us. But I don't want to buy a $25 die if I can make my regular ones do it, right? But the girl who did it before, she did a little garbage can over here. So there's Oscar the Grouch. What do you guys think? Think you're going to give it a try? Remember, I'm trying to get my Facebook group a little more active, the Creativity Realm. I'm going to try to start combining things. I've decided I've got too many pages and too many groups kind of all over the place, and so I'm going to kind of combine a little, but I do want to start giving away some prizes. But in order to do that, I need you guys to share with me the things that you're creating. Pop on over to Facebook and the Creativity Realm and start posting up some pictures. I'd love to see what you make. And again, like I said, if you need anything at all out of these to make these cards, I'd be happy to share with you the catalogs. You can view them through my store as a PDF or just the online store, or if you want a hard copy of it, let me know. I'd be happy to pop one in the mail to you. So again, thank you for joining me. This is our annual catalog, and the reason it's bound is I took it down to Office Depot, Staples, one of those type places, and for less than $5, they put the plastic coat on the front and then bound it on the edge so that when I open it up, I can lay it flat on my table. So just an idea, you know, if you often try to leave your catalog open so that you can use it, that's an idea. Or if you like to flip through it with your thumb, you can leave it the way it is. But either way, I want to make your stamping experience stress-free. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you back here next Monday at 2:30 Mountain Time. Thanks. Bye.